There is one task. You know exactly which one. It has been sitting there for days now with its little weight on your chest. And today is the day. Today you start. And somehow, you have wiped the counter. You answered 3 emails that did not matter. You reorganized a folder. You opened the document, looked at it for 4 whole seconds, and closed it again. You have done everything in the building except the one thing. And the deadline just sits there in your chest, like a breath you are holding and cannot let out. And the voice arrives right on cue, the same one you have heard your whole life. Why can't I just start? What is wrong with me? I'm so lazy. So let me say this right at the top. There is nothing wrong with you. There is something very old that is very right. You are not lazy, not broken, not undisciplined. The reason you cannot just start is a survival system working perfectly on a problem it was never built to solve. Because here is the thing nobody tells you. You were never avoiding the work. You were avoiding a feeling. And once you see which feeling and why your brain will pay almost anything to make it stop, the story turns stranger than you would guess. To understand why you cannot start, we have to go back, a long, long way back. Long before deadlines, before calendars, before a date 3 weeks out could sit in your stomach like a stone. Picture your ancestors on the open grassland, with all of human history still ahead of them. And feel the world they lived in, because it is the key to everything. The rewards that mattered were right in front of them. The berries, now. The warmth of the fire, now. The relief of getting out of the cold, the calm of not being afraid in this exact moment. Everything real was close enough to touch, and there was no such thing as 3 weeks from now. The future was not a plan. It was a gamble you might not live to collect. A drought, a predator, a bad fall, and there was no future you at all. So the bird in the hand was not just better than the bird in the bush, it was the only bird that was ever truly yours. So selection built a brain that does 2 things brilliantly. First, it grabs the certain payoff available now and heavily discounts anything far off and uncertain. And second, when something feels bad, it reads that as a signal. Something is wrong, move away from it, now. Repair how you feel, fast, by steering toward whatever feels better. And both of those instincts saved lives. The ancestor who chased some distant, abstract payoff over the real food in front of them did worse. The one who sat inside the dread instead of escaping it did worse. The one who took the sure thing now and fixed how they felt fast, lived, and had children. And those children are us. So let me say the line plainly. We are the children of the now brain. Every one of us is descended from people who reached for the immediate, certain reward and got away from bad feelings the moment they could. You inherited that machinery, flawless and intact. But here is the catch. The world it was built to read just vanished. So take that instrument, tuned over hundreds of thousands of years for a world of immediate, concrete rewards, and drop it, unchanged, into the year 2026. Because here is what it has to deal with now. The things that matter most to your life today are exactly the things it cannot feel. A deadline that is just a date on a calendar and a knot in your stomach. A goal whose payoff is invisible, abstract, and weeks away. To a brain built for berries you can hold, a project due in 3 weeks barely registers as real at all. And here is the cruel part. That task has exactly one feature your brain can feel right now, and it is that starting it feels bad. Boredom, anxiety, the small, quiet terror of, what if I try this and I am not good enough at it? The only concrete, certain thing about the whole task is the discomfort waiting at the front door. So the ancient machinery does precisely what it evolved to do. It picks the immediate, certain reward, the relief, the phone, the easy little chore, over the distant, abstract one, the deadline it can barely see. And it repairs your mood by getting you away from the dread, right now. Every time you avoid the task, you feel a tiny bit better, instantly. And that hit of relief is exactly why you go back and do it again. And then comes the part that is really not fair. Instead of explaining any of this, the culture hands you a label. Lazy, undisciplined, no willpower. So now you carry two weights where there should be one, the avoidance itself, and then the shame about the avoidance. And neither of them is your fault. But that is the story we tell ourselves. What the labs find when they put this under a scanner turns out to be stranger than the story. So here is what almost everyone gets backwards. We treat procrastination as a time problem, bad planning, a scheduling issue, a calendar you just need to manage harder. But that is not it. It is the opposite. You would think procrastination is a time management problem, but it is a mood management one. You are never avoiding the deadline. You are avoiding the feeling the deadline gives you. And once you see that, the shame starts to fall away. Start with the heart of it. In 2013, Fuchsia Sirwa and Timothy Pitchell in the journal Social and Personality Psychology Compass laid out a leading account of why we put things off. And it is not about time at all. They argue procrastination is fundamentally emotion regulation. You delay a task to repair your mood right now. You give in to feel good. The relief is the reward. The task was never the enemy. The feeling it triggers is. This is a leading model, not the final word, but it reframes everything. Then, the shape of it across the research. In 2007, Piers Steele in the journal Psychological Bulletin pulled hundreds of studies into a landmark meta-analysis. And the pattern was clear. The things we reliably put off are the ones that feel unpleasant and whose payoff is far away. Task aversiveness, impulsiveness, reward timing, the strongest predictors. That is the signature. Then, why later feels so weightless? In 2004, Samuel McClure, David Laibson, George Lowenstein, and Jonathan Cohen in the journal Science scanned people choosing between rewards now and rewards later. Immediate rewards lit up the limbic system, the brain's fast, dopamine-driven wiring. Choices about the future leaned on the prefrontal cortex, the slow, planning part. Two systems pulling against each other. And when the reward is now, the impulsive one shouts louder. It is a small study, and the strict reading has been debated. But the tug-of-war is real, and the future deadline always seems to lose. And last, the receipt that makes it stick. In 1997, Diane Tice and Roy Baumeister in the journal Psychological Science followed students across a term. Early on, the procrastinators were genuinely better off. Less stress, less illness. The relief was real and measurable. But by the end, the bill came due. More stress, more illness, lower grades, sicker overall. The payoff is immediate. The cost comes later, with interest. And that early relief is exactly why the loop is so hard to break. 4 lines of evidence, 1 verdict. Putting things off is not a willpower defect. It is a fast, ancient mood repair system doing exactly what it evolved to do. But knowing what the alarm is does not switch it off. So here is the strange part. What you do next is not what you would think. Okay, deep breath with me. Because I do not want you to walk away with the wrong lesson. So let me draw a very clear line, because this part matters. None of this means the task does not matter, or that the answer is just to discipline yourself harder. Discipline aimed at a feeling you have mislabeled as laziness mostly just adds more shame. And this is a lens, not a diagnosis. Chronic procrastination that is genuinely wrecking your life often ties to ADHD, or depression, or anxiety, where it is a symptom that deserves real support, not a mindset to reframe away. If that is you, Going to find that support is not a failure. It is one of the strongest moves you can make. So what do you actually do with it? You do not try to win an argument with your own nervous system. You will lose, every time. Instead, you name the feeling under the task. The next time you catch yourself doing everything but the thing, you stop and ask, quietly, what does this task actually make me feel? Is it boring? Is it scary? Does it make me afraid I might fail? Because the avoidance was never about the task. It was about that. And naming it gives you what the old alarm never had. A half-second of distance, a gap between the dread and the fleeing. And then you shrink the start. Not the whole mountain, just the next 2 minutes. Because a brain built for now cannot feel a project 3 weeks out, but it can absolutely feel a reward 2 minutes away. So you give it one. A now small enough to actually want. Because here is the truth I want you to keep. That pull to do anything except the one thing is not you being lazy. It is a reward system so old it kept your ancestors alive, back when the only thing worth wanting was the payoff right in front of you, and the smartest move when something felt bad was to get away from it now. It cannot feel a deadline 3 weeks out. It cannot see the version of you who will pay for this later. All it knows is that starting feels bad and stopping feels better. So it pays you, in relief, to run. So the next time you have done everything but the thing, and a voice calls you lazy, you can answer it honestly. I am not lazy. I am just running a brain built for now in a world made of later. And I was never avoiding the work. I was avoiding how the work made me feel. And that is not a flaw to beat out of myself. That is a thing to understand, and then, gently, to start. So send this to 2 people. Send it to the person who keeps calling you lazy, and send it to the one who keeps calling themselves it. Tell them both the same thing. They were never lazy. They were just built for a world where later barely existed.